In this episode, we are looking at what changes when a printer stops being one person's device and becomes something shared by a team, a classroom, a front desk, or a whole office. That change sounds small at first, but it creates a very different support job because now the device is part of a workflow, not just a piece of hardware sitting next to one computer. People need to send jobs to it, pick up the right pages, scan documents to the right place, and trust that other users cannot interfere with what they are doing. When shared printers are configured badly, the result is not just inconvenience, because people can lose time, lose documents, send information to the wrong place, or expose private material to users who should never have seen it. Once you understand printer sharing, permissions, scan destinations, and basic network print services, it becomes much easier to see why printers create so many support calls and why careful setup matters so much. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is part of our companion study series. The first book is a detailed study guide that explains the exam and helps you prepare for it with confidence. The second is a Kindle-only ebook with 1,000 flashcards you can use on your mobile device or Kindle for quick review. You can find both at CyberAuthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A shared printer is simply a printer that more than one user can reach, but there are different ways that sharing can happen. In one setup, the printer is connected to a single computer, and that computer shares it out to others, which means the host computer becomes part of the printing path every time someone sends a job. In another setup, the printer connects directly to the network, and users send jobs to the printer without depending on one employee's computer to stay powered on and working. Both models can work, but they do not behave the same way. And that is important for beginners because a user may say the printer is offline when the real problem is that the host computer is asleep, disconnected, or shut down. A technician has to understand what kind of sharing is being used before deciding whether the issue is with the printer itself, the network path, the shared settings, or the computer that is acting as the middle point. When people talk about network print services, they are usually talking about the system that receives print jobs, lines them up, and sends them to the device in an orderly way. This may happen on a dedicated print server, through built-in services on another machine, or through the printer's own network features, depending on how the environment is designed. The main beginner idea is that printing is not always a straight line from one computer to one printer, because a job may pass through a queue, wait its turn, and depend on service settings before paper ever comes out. That explains why a printer can look healthy while users still cannot print, since the problem may be sitting in the queue or in the service managing those jobs rather than in the printer hardware. Once you understand that printing often depends on a small workflow behind the scenes, many strange problems start to make more sense. The print queue is one of the most useful ideas for a beginner technician to understand because it explains how many users can send jobs to the same printer without all of the pages trying to print at once. The queue holds jobs in order and helps the system manage when each document is sent to the printer, which is usually helpful until one bad job gets stuck and everything behind it starts backing up. A user may think the printer has failed because nothing is printing, but the printer may simply be waiting behind a paused job, a damaged document, or a stalled service that has stopped moving work through the queue. This is one reason technicians pay attention to print queues so often, because a shared printer can appear broken to everyone in the area, even though the real problem is one bad job from one user. A single stuck job can create a whole room full of complaints if no one realizes where the delay is happening. Permissions matter because a shared device should not give every user the same level of control. Most people only need to send their own documents and maybe cancel their own jobs if they make a mistake, while a smaller number of trusted users may need to manage the queue, clear stalled jobs, or change settings that affect the whole group. If too many people have broad control, one user can pause the printer, cancel other people's work, change defaults, or create confusion without even understanding what they did. If permissions are too narrow, users may not be able to print at all, or staff who support the area may be unable to fix small problems without calling someone else. A good technician understands that permissions are not just an administrative detail, because they shape who can use the printer, who can manage problems, and who can accidentally or intentionally interfere with the work of everyone else who depends on that device. This becomes even more important when the printer is used for sensitive work. A shared device in a school office, medical area, human resources department, legal team, or finance group may handle documents that should only be seen by certain people, and a careless sharing setup can expose that information very easily. If everyone can print to the same device and pages come out into an open tray in a public area, private information can sit there waiting for the wrong person to pick it up. If too many users can manage the queue, someone may cancel an important job, reprint documents that should not be duplicated, or see the names of files and users in a way that reveals more than it should. That is why technicians do not think of printer permissions as a minor checkbox task, because once a shared printer becomes part of a business process, its access rules affect privacy, accountability, and trust just as much as convenience. The choice between different sharing methods also affects daily workflow in ways users often do not notice until something breaks. If a printer is shared through one person's computer, that setup might seem easy at first, but the device can become unavailable every time that computer is turned off, restarted, updated, or disconnected from the network. A more direct network setup is often more stable for a group because the printer can stay available without depending on one user's machine, and that usually makes support simpler when several people need the device all day. In larger environments, a print server can help centralize control, driver management, and queue handling, which reduces confusion and makes it easier to support many users from one place. A beginner does not need to memorize every server feature, but it helps to understand that printer sharing is not just about making a device visible, because the sharing model determines how reliable the service will be and how much trouble the support team will face later. Scanning creates another layer of work because the device now has to do more than receive jobs and put ink or toner on paper. A multifunction printer may need to send a scanned document to a person's email, save it to a shared folder, deliver it to a specific computer, or place it in a department location where several people can find it. That means the technician is no longer only setting up output, but also setting up destination, file handling, and access rules for incoming digital documents. If the scan destination is wrong, unavailable, or poorly secured, users may believe the scanner is broken when the real problem is that the file has nowhere valid to go or is being sent somewhere nobody checks. This is why scanning support can feel harder than printing support, because a printed page is easy to see, while a failed scan can disappear into a path, account, or destination setting that the user never knew existed. A shared folder is one of the most common scan destinations, and it is a good example of how workflow and security connect. For scan a folder to work well, the printer has to know where the folder is, the folder has to still exist, the device needs permission to write files there, and the people who need those files should be able to reach them without exposing them to everyone else. If the folder is moved, renamed, filled up, or protected with credentials that have changed, scanning can suddenly stop even though the device still appears normal from the front panel. On the security side, a folder that is too open can expose scanned contracts, forms, identification documents, or other sensitive material to people who should not have access. This is one reason technicians have to think beyond whether the scan works once, because a destination is only useful if it stays reachable, stays organized, and stays limited to the right group of users over time. Scan to email is convenient for users because it can send a document directly to a person without requiring them to browse for a folder or look through a shared drive. Even so, it depends on correct mail settings, working network access, valid sender information, and accurate recipient addresses, and any break in that path can make scanning fail in a way that feels confusing to the person standing at the printer. A saved address book can also become a source of mistakes if old contacts remain in the device, if people choose the wrong entry, or if a group address sends sensitive material to more recipients than intended. A technician has to remember that convenience and risk often travel together, because the faster a document can be sent, the easier it can also be misdirected. For that reason, scan destinations should be chosen with care, and users should not be given a wide-open system that makes it too easy to send private information to the wrong place with one quick tap. Security problems with shared printers are not only digital. Printed pages sitting in an output tray can be just as serious as a bad folder permission because the information is now in physical form where anyone passing by can see it, pick it up, or walk away with it. This matters more than many beginners expect because users often print account information, schedules, employee forms, medical documents, customer records, or internal reports without thinking about who else is standing near the device. A printer placed in a public hallway or common work area may be convenient, but that convenience has to be weighed against the risk of pages being left unattended. Some organizations solve part of this by using features that hold jobs until the correct user arrives. But even without those advanced tools, a technician should understand the basic lesson that printer location, user habits, and access control affect security just as much as the network settings do. There is also the matter of the printer's own settings and management access. Many network printers have administrative pages or local control panels where important settings can be changed, and if those are left too open, the device itself can become a point of weakness. Someone with too much access might change the scan destination, alter the network settings, clear logs, add unauthorized addresses, or weaken the way the device is managed, and those changes can lead to both support problems and privacy problems. A beginner should understand that securing a shared printer includes protecting the device from careless or unnecessary changes, not just protecting the documents that pass through it. This is why good support practice includes thinking about who can manage the printer, who can change the address book, who can adjust scan paths, and whether the device is being treated like a real network service rather than like a harmless appliance that can be left open. When a problem comes in, technicians usually start by deciding what kind of failure they are looking at. If one user cannot print, but everyone else can, the issue may be on that user's computer, account, or permissions rather than in the printer itself. If printing works for everyone but scanning fails, the destination path, account settings, or mail configuration may be the real problem, not the scanner hardware. If jobs enter the queue and never come out, the technician may think about the print service, queue handling, or the device's network connection before blaming the printer engine. This simple habit of separating printing from scanning, user access from device health, and workflow errors from true hardware faults saves a lot of time, and it helps beginners avoid replacing parts or reinstalling software when the real issue is only one broken piece of the shared service around the device. The best printer setups are usually the ones that keep things simple for users and controlled for support staff. Clear printer names help people choose the right device. Sensible permissions limit who can change important settings, and scan destinations should be easy to understand so documents do not vanish into paths that users cannot find later. It also helps when the technician tests printing and scanning from a real user point of view instead of stopping as soon as the device shows ready on its screen. A printer is not truly deployed just because it powers on and accepts one test page, because the real question is whether people can use it safely, predictably, and with the level of access that matches their job. That mindset is what turns printer setup from a rushed hardware task into a proper support decision that reduces repeat problems instead of creating them. By the end of this topic, a shared printer should feel like more than a machine that sits on the network and waits for someone to press print. It is part of a workflow that depends on the sharing method, the queue, the permissions, the scan destinations, and the management settings all working together in a sensible way. If those pieces are set up badly, the result can be delays, missing documents, confused users, privacy exposure, and a steady stream of support problems that seem unrelated until someone looks at the whole picture. When technicians secure shared printers, set clear permissions, and choose safe scan destinations, they are doing more than keeping paper moving, because they are protecting how information travels through the workplace and making sure users can do their jobs without turning a simple office device into a daily source of risk and frustration.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.